Hello and welcome to News Central Television. I am Dapo. Adegboye, the top stories at this hour. Nigeria sets up 6 zonal hearings over minimum wage review. 2 killed after planes collide mid-air in Kenya. Fresh violence in Mozambique displaces over 100,000. Details in a moment. We apologize for starting a little behind schedule. However, we begin in West Africa, where the federal government of Nigeria has set up zonal public hearings across 6 geopolitical zones of the country for the review of the national minimum wage. The hearings are scheduled to hold in the Northeast, Yola, Northwest, Kano State, North Central, Abuja, South Uyo, Southeast, Enugu, and also Southwest, Lagos. The Southwest Zonal Public Hearing is to be chaired by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun. A statement issued by the Head Press and Public Relations Unit of the Ministry of Finance said that the Southwest Zonal Public Hearing will be held at the LTV Blue Roof Arena, Agidingbi, Ikeja, Lagos, on March 7, 2024. According to the statement, the session aims to gather insights and recommendations to inform a fair and sustainable minimum wage policy, reflecting the engagement and contributions from various stakeholders in the region. Now, plenary was briefly disrupted on Tuesday when power outage forced the Nigerian Senate to abandon proceedings. The plenary was commenced after power was restored some minutes later. The President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, who apologized for the temporary hitch, described the outage as a technical glitch. The Abuja Electricity Distribution Company had come under heavy criticism recently as a result of incessant power outages in the Federal Capital Territory. Nigeria continues to grapple with the epileptic power supply, a situation that has adversely affected several sectors of the economy. The power problem worsened with the removal of fuel subsidies, which escalated the pump price of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, and AGO, also known as gas, to an all-time high in the history of the country. Now, emotions were high as family, friends, and associates gathered to celebrate the life of Chizi Wigwe, the son of the late Group Managing Director of Access Holdings, Herbert Wigwe. The event took place at the Hotel in Lagos, Southwest Nigeria. Among the dignitaries present were Jimmy Odukoya, Senior Pastor, Fountain of Life Church, Ian Adams, the Senior Director, Africa Finance Corporation. Chizi, alongside his father and mother, died in a helicopter crash on February 9, 2024 in the United States, on his way to attend the Super Bowl 58 championship in Las Vegas.
I always knew that I would lose Chizi, but my biggest fear was to lose it to Herbert Wigwe, as he used to call him, Master Wigwe. So I never thought I would compete with the Lord and that he would go home before all of us. So in my time, the struggle was not when he will leave the AFC team, but how long we can keep him. And I would even gesture to him, you know, you're not ready to go to your dad yet. Well, Tochi is there, so don't worry. And that was a selfish motive. But in all seriousness, on behalf of the entire AFC family, our president, Samaila Zuburu, who is with us, who should have made some of these comments, but he's been rather emotional, and not only for Chizi, but for his father, Herbert, Ike, and Roosevelt, who are our shareholder. So the Access family is a fabric of what AFC is. And we were very lucky and honored to have Chizi.
And when these things happen, it forces us to stop and pause and face the reality that one day we all are going to die. It forces us to realize that at some point, we don't know the hour, the time, the moment, the season, we all will be gathered here and it will be our service. What will be said about you? What will be said about me? What legacy will we leave behind? I sat back and I listened to all the beautiful tributes of Chizzy and how impactful his life was in such a short time. And it's quite clear that it's never about the length of time, but the quality of time. About the impact he made, about how great a light he was, and hopefully his life inspires us to want to do better. I'm reminded of a saying. It says, when you are born, you cry, while everybody else rejoices. Live your life in such a way that when you die, you rejoice while everyone cries. One thing is certain, life is short, death is certain, and heaven is for real. What would we do with the time that we have left? Now, I want to speak directly to the family. When we go through things like this, words fail us. People come around you and they wish you well from the depths of their hearts. And talking from my own personal experience, although they mean it, it really doesn't go a long way.
The Minister of State, Federal Capital Territory, Maria, that's Mahmood, has described the looting of the warehouse in the area as a criminal act. She expressed disappointment in the youth of the area. Mahmood explained that the government was replenishing the warehouse to distribute palliatives to the 6 area councils in the FCT when the attack occurred. The minister assured that the FCT administration would establish police posts in all government warehouses across the territory. Police authorities in the FCT had, in the wake of the incident, said 15 persons had been arrested, including 2 local security guards employed by the warehouse management. Exhibits such as 26 bags of maize, 5 motorcycles and some vandalized aluminium roofing were recovered from the suspects. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, we have more stories. Stay with us. Governments at all levels impose a financial obligation on its citizens or residents to provide funds to support its programs. The Nigerian citizen, though not satisfied with the government offer from tax proceeds, still believe that the attitude to tax payment can be changed. Now, News Central's Chinwe Ugele tells us more.
Who mandatorily pay their taxes? They are civil servants and those in the employ of corporate organizations. Yet there are those who underpay taxes because they have not been properly assessed due to the information they provided, and finally those who do not pay at all. According to some people, the attitude of taxable adults can improve if the government justifies the taxes paid over time.
We're not seeing the little one we are paying. We are not seeing what they are using it for.
But the factors I pointed at can be blamed. That is low literacy about taxation, and then the failure of those in authority to utilize the tax they already collected in the past.
Even if taxation is possible, the issue of remitting the money, using it for the real purpose, why it was being made. So, issue of corruption is a kind of distracting people.
Through tax alone, a lot of economies have been built across the globe. Yet, a country like Nigeria, with its over 10 million registered taxpayers in all the states, including Federal Capital Territory, is not able to depend solely on taxation to build infrastructure and pay workers' salaries.
We have no knowledge of tax and tax administration across some areas of staff, both in the Board of Internal Revenue and outside Board of Internal Revenue.
In Abia State, while government seeks to improve its internally generated revenue, The masses are aware that taxes are legitimate payments to the government meant to use in running the system.
Taxing is a very unique assignment for every personality in this country. For the reason of giving out what is supposed to give to the government for developmental purposes.
Every city or state really need the citizen to pay tax in order to maintain the state, the infrastructures.
The people who are paying these taxes are looking up to the government to begin to apply these monies where necessary in order to encourage all those who are yet to come to terms with payment of taxes. In Omahefon News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says banks are linked to about 70% of the financial crimes in Nigeria. EFCC's chairman, Ola Olukoyede, disclosed this while speaking in Abuja at the 2023 annual retreat and general meeting of the Association of Chief Audit Executives of Banks in Nigeria. He pointed out that the banking sector was increasingly becoming a cesspool of fraudulent activities. Olukoyede, who was represented by the Director Internal Audit, EFCC Ido Akpabio, said there was a need for concrete effort by relevant authorities and professionals, especially audit executives, to prevent and tackle the issues involved. He charged the association to monitor the financial activities of banks, comparing actual and budgeted revenue with expenses, carry out periodical reviews, checks, amongst others. The stakeholders in Blockchain Technology Association of Nigeria have introduced a code of conduct for virtual asset service providers, amidst the Binance ban in Nigeria. Now, this code, applicable to both CBN members and non-members, emphasizes the adherence to laws, transparent disclosure, robust security measures, customer protection, and commitment to anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism measures. As a self-regulatory entity, CBN aims to instill responsible and ethical practices in Nigeria's cryptocurrency sector, contributing to the restoration of trust and confidence amidst recent regulatory developments, including the Binance ban within the country. The director of the Commonwealth Institute of Advanced and Professional Studies, Professor Anthony Kilap, called for a deliberate involvement of stakeholders in the Nigeria's educational sector, as well as government officials, to uphold the safety and social welfare of children in the country. The university don made this known while speaking at a recent event in Lagos. Now, News Central's Adeshewa Odushoga tells us more.
As of 2022, Nigeria accounted for about 20 million out-of-school children, a number that grew double its size in 2 years. One of the key factors responsible for this trend is economic barriers, conflict, sociocultural norms, and lack of inclusive policies or practices in schools. Over time, many non-governmental organizations and passionate individuals have managed to reduce these numbers through foundations and donations, one of whom is Nima Fadipe, a 29-year-old philanthropist who unfortunately died untimely, leaving these legacies behind. A foundation has now been founded in her name, managed by her mother, with a focus on ensuring children's safety and social welfare.
My late daughter, Nima Talai, was the founder. She's always done things for the children, orphanage homes, and she does Water is Life in her days. And she goes to children's hospital to help them, pick up children on the street. This is far back, probably about 15 years ago. She goes on the street, picks up children, educate them, bring them to her business, and try to empower them.
Speakers at the event highlighted the importance of upholding children's safety amidst economic barriers or conflict.
I don't know how you're going to take this, but I feel the urge to say it. Just stop giving children motivational books to read. Let them read literature, let them read art, let them read history. Let them read things that will really, really shape their imagination. Not how to do this, confidence in yourself. No. They will develop the confidence. What they need as children to be safe is to have the lexicon to express themselves, to know that they do not need to shout to express themselves, they do not need to cry, they do not need to run away, they do not need to lie, that they can explain what they want.
Vulnerable kids is a society thing, and it goes beyond the government to do. We as individuals, able bodies, we should be able to support the government and take some of these kids out of the street.
The actions or inactions of government impact children more strongly than any other group in the society. Thus, speakers here have called for the protection of children's rights and welfare for the prosperity of the nation. In Lagos for News Central, Adegboye Dushoga.
You're watching News Central now. Coming up, 2 killed after planes collide in Kenya. We have details of this and more after now. The news continues in West Africa, where Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo has said he will not decide whether to sign a controversial anti-LGBTQ bill into law until the Supreme Court rules on a legal challenge. Last week, lawmakers approved the bill which seeks to severely curtail LGBTQ rights. Now, drawing condemnation from rights activists despite gaining mild support, the conservative West African nation. The proposed legislation stipulates jail terms of 6 months to 3 years for engaging in such sexual acts, and also sentences between 3 to 5 years for promoting or sponsoring such activities. The passing of the bill sparked criticism from several countries, including the United States, as well as concern from Ghana's Finance Ministry, which warned that financially strapped country could lose billions of dollars in World Bank funding. In East Africa, a student pilot and instructor died on Tuesday when their plane collided with a passenger airline over the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. The mid-air incident between local carrier Safari Link and the 99 Flying Training School occurred Tuesday morning. Nairobi Police Adamson Bongui has confirmed the death. An earlier police report also said that the passenger plane requested to turn back for landing after the collision. Safari Link said in a statement that the plane, with 44 persons on board, was heading for Diani along the Kenyan coast when it experienced a loud bang soon after takeoff. The Kenyan Civil Aviation Authority said investigations had started to establish the cause of the accident. In Southern Africa, the number of persons who fled their homes in northern Mozambique has peaked to over 112,000 in the last 2 months due to jihadist violence, with 60,000 being children. According to local reports and figures for displaced persons from the United Nations Migration Agency, fresh unrest broke out in the Lourdes province a few weeks ago. A United Nations Migration Agency, IOM, placed the total number of displaced persons at 112,894 from December 22nd to March 3rd. The thousands of families have fled by bus, canoe, or on foot. A Doctor Without Borders psychiatrist, Esperanza Chanyanja, based in one of the districts of Cabo Delgado, cautioned about the mental impact of the recent attacks. The South Africa's gross domestic product has increased by 0.1% in the fourth quarter of 2023, with transport and communication sectors surging by 2.9% during the same period, contributing 0.2 percentage points to the overall GDP growth. Now, Economic activities saw a boost in land and air transport, alongside transportation support services and communication sector. These latest statistics were released by the Statistician General, that's Rusenga Mululeke, addressing during a press conference.
We are saying that the economy has been moving sideways, but particularly after COVID, we can see that it's only 4 times that it contracted. It's on the lower part where we are amplifying that part so that we are able to see better what has happened post-COVID. And indeed, on the right-hand side, as of now, we are saying that the economy grew by 0.1%. Of industries, we can see that the industry that performed the most was transport, having performed at 0.2 of a percentage point, followed by mining and quarry, as well as personal services and finance that contributed 0.1 of a percentage point. But those that had a drawdown in the most were trade at negative 0.3 percentage points of a percentage point, and followed by agriculture at negative 0.2 of a percentage point. And indeed, we can see that it's just a coincidence that transport happens to have grown the strongest and indeed contributed the most. But there are times when the growth, the 2.9 that we are seeing of growth, sometimes that growth is not correspondent to the contribution that.
Still ahead on the news, hundreds hold demonstration against election violations in Indonesia. We have details of this and more after now.
Ketika di depan matanya ada kecurangan dan berani untuk melawan kecurangan itu, saya mengucapkan terima kasih kepada bapak-bapak dan ibu-ibu. Mudah-mudahan perjuangan bapak-bapak dan ibu-ibu ini dengan cara yang seperti ini tidak berhenti di sini.
Dipertontonkan oleh pemerintah. Ini setiap masyarakat sudah tahu, mulai dari sebelum pemilu, proses pemilunya, pasca pemilunya, sudah terjadi banyak pelanggaran. Oleh sebab itu, ya, kita mendukung supaya anggota DPR agar menjalankan haknya, yaitu hak angket, guna menyelidiki setiap pelanggaran-pelanggaran. Jadi kita tidak hanya sampai di sini, bahkan besok hari dan lusa, sampai benar-benar hak angket itu.
The European Union Commission unveiled an ambitious proposal to massively boost weapons production and procurement to shift from a reliance on U.S. arms to a reaction to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now, Vice President Margrethe Vestager said the proposal sets a goal of procuring 50% of equipment within the European Union by 2030. According to the European Commissioner for Defense Industries, 68% of equipment supplied to Ukraine over the last 2 years were bought from the United States. She added that NATO must take more responsibility for its own security, while remaining fully committed to the NATO alliance.
We propose to achieve the goal by 2030 to procure 40% of equipment in a collaborative manner and to procure 50% of equipment within the European Union.
Parce que maintenant, nous avons vraiment une vision globale de notre appareil de production de défense. Nous avons tout ce qu'il faut en Europe pour pouvoir répondre. Alors on se dit, à juste titre, pour faire face aux besoins accrus et non anticipés évidemment de ce dont l'Ukraine avait besoin, on a acheté au cours des deux dernières années pour 68% de nos...
On June 14, 2024, the federal government adjusted Nigeria's foreign exchange regime to what is now known as the Managed Float System, in a bid to attract foreign investors and encourage export. This was well received by many economists and analysts, but what they did not know was that it would also come with immediate yet sticky pain. Now, News Central's Perpetual Fasumi Peter compiles the thoughts of financial market analysts on the continuous impact of this reform on publicly listed businesses. A report.
Nigeria's foreign exchange regime in June 2023, the immediate impact was the depreciation of the Nigerian currency, the Naira. According to FMDQ, Naira opened at 473 Naira on June 14, 2023 and closed 664 Naira for Kobo the same day because of the float. But that was not all. Companies, especially consumer goods industries, took the hit, reporting exchange losses in their half-year 2023 financial results.
What happened is not something that will happen every quarter or something that will happen every year. This is just one-off. For full year, I don't expect them to come and say they are actually booking another FX loss.
9 months down the line, full-year results of more listed companies continue to trickle in. Investors, portfolio managers and shareholders have been on the edge, hoping their funds are not wiped away, as is the case with Nestle.
2023 was shaped by the devaluation in currency. So it's not a surprise that for consumer companies such as Nestle that have exposure in foreign currency would take some form of significant hit in terms of how their performance will pan out. So we will not be surprised to see if something similar that happened to Cadbury in terms of debt to equity conversion with their parent company happens with Nestle.
But is there hope anywhere? How can these companies stay profitable? For how much longer will they make losses?
The problem is this FX loss. So they need to start looking at backward integration. They need to start looking at how to source raw material locally. They need to start looking at a way to raise Naira debt obligation because of the volatility of the currency. The only thing that the fiscal authority can do is to generate more FX revenue.
This episode may not be over anytime soon, as the same headwinds appear to be more bullish in the first quarter of 2024, prompting analysts to look beyond the first quarter of 2024 for hope of better days to come. The onus lies not only on these companies to adapt and innovate, but also on the government to consider further measures to support the private sector during this critical transition. In Lagos, for News Central, Perpetua Fasumi Peter.
Cryptocurrency experts in Nigeria have accused a government of not doing enough to protect the nation's currency, thus giving forex speculators the ability to manipulate the market. They say the inconsistency of government's policy created a window for manipulation, a situation not possible in other African countries.
To make it simple, just exactly what happened during the Naira crunch, when Naira was scarce and POS agents began to charge 20%. That's exactly what happened in peer-to-peer, the Binance peer-to-peer platform. The government needs to understand that there is no need, if you have already lifted the ban on crypto, let the system run officially. For instance, I should be able to buy with my card. So I'm paying with my Naira. I have no business with exchange rates because the official exchange rate of the CBN is what the banks will use. So what's my business with exchange rate? But when you leave, you ban that side, you block that, and then you allow people to use the peer-to-peer platform, you open room for exploitation.
Nigeria earned its first medal at the ongoing 13th African Games today in Accra, Ghana, after Effiong Edem settled for bronze medal in the women's singles event at the Accra International Conference Center. The Spain-based star played her best matches in the last 16 and quarter-final when she defeated Egypt's Al-Derby twins, that's Marwa and Mariam, respectively. However, facing defending champion Dina Mashrif of Egypt in the semi-finals, Edem carved in to a 4-0 defeat to settle for a bronze medal just like she did at the 2019 edition in Rabat, Morocco. Mashrif will face compatriot Hannah Goda in the final in an all-Egyptian affair, while in the men's single, Africa's #1 tennis player, Aruna Quadri, is through to the final of the men's singles event, where he will contend with old rival, that's Egypt, Omar Assar. He defeated El Balali's Mohammed of Egypt 4-0 in the semi-final, as both finals will be played later tonight.
Super excited. I am so proud to be the first person to win a medal in this game. It's been tough, and I really put in my best. And I had this opportunity to play well because we were in World Championship, and this helped a lot. And I want to thank the Nigerian Federation for making that possible to go to World Championship, because that served like a training tour, and that is the reason why I did very well here.
No, I was not injured. The floor was really somehow, so I felt like 2 or 3 times, but I'm okay. I'm very fine. This is why we are professional. This is what we are made to do. So I'm very ready, and we will see.
A tearful Jason Kelsey confirmed his retirement after 13 seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles. The 36-year-old spent his entire career with Philadelphia, helping them win their first Super Bowl in 2018 and reach the NFL showpiece again in 2023. Kelsey was a 6th-round draft pick by the Eagles in 2011, but is now regarded as one of NFL's best ever centers. He cried as he began a statement lasting more than 40 minutes and continued to hold back tears. A 7-time Pro Bowl selection, he played 205 games and holds the franchise record for conservative starts. He will be remembered as a Philadelphia legend, securing the status with a passionate speech during their Super Bowl parade in 2018 on the steps made famous by Rocky movies.
Feeling of immense heartbreak I had selfishly. For myself and for my teammates. And at the same time, the amount of pride I had that my brother had climbed the mountaintop once again. We have a small family.
That's a wrap on the news at this time, but before we go, another look at some of our top stories. We told you that Nigeria has set up a 6-zonal hearing over minimum wage review. Now, 2 persons have been killed after planes collided mid-air in Kenya. We also told you that fresh violence in Mozambique has displaced over 100,000. Don't forget to send in your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You can also follow us on socials. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Apple TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Dapo Adegboye.